Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you just after Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of Thursday night's game against Molde in the Europa League. I thought I'd just join you, do one of these videos talking about what Mikel Arteta had to say ahead of that game and a few other situations at the moment, including some very interesting stuff on William Saliba as well. Obviously, the teenage defender is yet to play for Arsenal after his big money move from St Etienne. Arteta speaking about his future and a few interesting things to say about that. He also talked about team news and a few other things as well. So I thought I'd just pop on and give you a quick update as always. Thank you very much everyone for your continued support on this. Like I said, I was in my last video, which went up on Monday. I have been away for a week, which is why I've been a little bit quiet on here, but I am back now and getting back into the groove of all things Arsenal. I will be at the match tomorrow night, so I will try and do my usual video at the end of that game, do a bit of a match review and my player ratings. And yeah, as I always do, thank you for your support, thank you for the likes, thank you for the subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed yet and you are just coming across this channel for the first time, then please do hit the subscribe button down there, and I will try and keep you as updated as I can about all things Arsenal. And there's always plenty to talk about when it comes to this wonderful football club. Right, let's start with today's press conference. What did Mikel Arteta have to say? We'll start with William Saliba, shall we? If you go to my social media pages after this, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook as well, and obviously you can go to goal.com and the story is high up on the homepage at the moment. I've just published a story on William Saliba and what Mikel Arteta has had to say during his press conference. Now, there have been some reports that started in France in this week that William Saliba is fed up with his situation at Arsenal. Obviously, he's not in the Europa League squad, so he can't even play on Thursday night. He's yet to play in the Premier League. He's yet to make a single appearance, senior appearance for Arsenal, only playing so far for the under-23s this season. Now, reports in France obviously saying William Saliba is fed up with his lack of football and that he is open to leaving again in January, potentially on loan. Mikel Arteta was asked about that and was asked for his feelings on the subject, and he said he too was as fed up with Saliba as Saliba with the whole situation. I'll just read you his quote. What he had to say. Mikel Arteta said, "I am fed up with the situation because, as you could see, we tried to find a way in the last few days of the transfer window to give him some football. I explained that he needed that transition year when we decided to buy him and send him on loan to St Etienne. For many reasons that didn't happen. He didn't have that transition year and he needs to go through that. At the moment, with the amount of central defenders we have in the team, we had to leave him out of the squad, which is painful because we have some injuries and we could have used him at the moment, but it is part of the profession." He was then asked whether he could leave in January. He said yes. We tried in the last few days of the transfer window to find the right club. In the end of the day, we could not make it. We will review his situation in the next few weeks. Sit down with him as well and see what the best thing to do, but it will depend on him and other players' situations as well. So Mikel Arteta opening the door there on a potential January exit for William Saliba, which as it stands, I think it's the best thing for all parties, because if he's not going to play for Arsenal, I don't think he's going to really benefit from playing with the under-23s. It just feels like a return to France for the second half of this season would be good, and hopefully he can come back in the summer and make a real concerted push to make an impact in the Arsenal first team. I think we're all disappointed with the situation. We all expected this season to see a lot of William Saliba, and it was going to be a very, very key figure. It hasn't worked out like that. Exactly why we're not really sure. Mikel Arteta never gives it anything away, really. Just talks about that transitional the year that Saliba missed out on last season, which in a way I can kind of see what he's saying, but it also doesn't. There's a few gaps in that for me, because look, he still played a fair few games last season for St Etienne. Everyone that I'd spoken to, I remember speaking to Bakary Sagna about it, raving about Saliba and how well he'd played in France and how highly rated he was. And to come in and not even make it into Europa League squad, it doesn't make too much sense to me. He can't be that bad, if you see what I mean. And you kind of look at Wesley Fofana at Leicester now, who's come over from St Etienne. I think he's younger than Saliba. He's gone straight into the first team at Leicester, whereas Saliba can't even get into the Europa League squad for Arsenal, having come from the same club where he's perhaps even more highly rated than Fofana was. So it's a strange situation. I think there must be more to it than meets the eye, but we haven't really been able to uncover exactly what it is yet. But as it stands, if Saliba's not going to be playing much football, I think for me a loan move in January certainly makes the most sense now, because he's not going to benefit from playing under 23s football in this country at all. He needs to go out and play senior football and then perhaps have that transitional period that Mikel Arteta talks about, because last year was disrupted for him. Obviously, he had big injuries, and then the French season was suspended due to COVID. So it was far from ideal for Saliba, and it certainly wasn't the loan spell that Arsenal would have hoped he would have had when they agreed to send him back there for the whole season. But it still doesn't. The situation still doesn't make too much sense to me, and I can tell by the reaction on social media as well. It's one that sort of baffles a lot of the Arsenal fans. So it certainly feels like the best way out of this situation now is just to get Saliba out on loan, get him some game times in for the second half of the season, and hopefully he can come back and be ready to make a real push to get into this Arsenal side alongside Gabriel, because I think we all expected that was going to be the centre-back partnership for the next few years at Arsenal once Arsenal brought Gabriel in the summer. So that's what Mikel Arteta had to say on William Saliba. A few other things. We was asked about Mohamed Elneny, obviously the talk of the town at the moment. Elneny with his fantastic performance at Old Trafford and his fantastic performances all season, to be fair. And he was asked about a new contract for Elneny, whether that would now be on the agenda given his form. Elneny's obviously 28 at the moment, still got a couple of years left on his current deal. He said, let's go step by step, please. What I can say is I'm really pleased with the player, and hopefully he continue to perform like that all season. So I can understand Mikel Arteta saying, look, calm down a little bit. Just we're not going to talk about a new contract straight away just because of a couple of good performances. But that's to take nothing away from Mohamed Elneny, because he's been fantastic this season and he deserves an awful lot of credit. Because I think in the summer, with all the talk about Partey possibly arriving, Houssem Aouar as well, with Ceballos coming back, with Xhaka already there, no one was talking about Mohamed Elneny. No one thought he would be almost one of the linchpins of Mikel Arteta's side, but he started 7 of Arsenal's 11 games this season. He's playing very, very well. Seems to have formed a very good partnership with Partey. The 2 games they've played together, they've both been exceptional. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it once again. It'll be Elneny and Partey in the central midfield role against Aston Villa in the Premier League this weekend. So that's what Mikel Arteta had to say on Mohamed Elneny. Bit of team news ahead of the game on Thursday night. David Luiz has recovered from his thigh injury, which is very good news. He suffered that against Leicester, obviously forced off early on in the second half in that defeat against Leicester. Missed the game at Old Trafford, but he is now back, full training and available potentially, definitely available for Thursday night's game. Whether he starts, whether he is involved, obviously that's down to Mikel Arteta. He could hold off until the weekend against Aston Villa, but he is available, so that's good news. Mikel Arteta was asked about that, and he just said he's been training very well the past few days, so he'll be in the squad for tomorrow. So we might well be seeing David Luiz start tomorrow in either a back 2 or a back 4 or a back 3. He did say that there were going to be changes tomorrow. I think we saw 10 changes for the game against Dundalk last week. Again, Mikel Arteta, when asked about rotating his squad, he said we'll see some changes tomorrow. Again, I believe we have to manage the minutes and exposure we get with the players with the amount of games they have. Not now, but in the international break, they play 3 games, and at the moment they play every 3 or 4 days. We have to think what we need at present, but it's going to get really, really condensed. So a lot of changes, I think, coming for Arsenal for tomorrow night's game. Wouldn't be at all surprised if we see 11 from the team that played at Manchester United at the weekend, because Mikel Arteta is quite right to point out a very demanding fixture schedule. We've got the international break coming up again, so plenty for Mikel Arteta to consider when it comes to fitness and keeping his players in the best shape possible as we head towards the Christmas period. In terms of my starting 11 for tomorrow night, it's a tough one because, like I said, there's going to be so many changes for Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised to see Luiz end up on the bench. So I think I'm going to go with Runarsson in goal. I'm going to kind of go with a back 4, but turns into a back 3 if Granit Xhaka slips into that when Arsenal are in possession, which we've seen many times before. So I'm going to go with Runarsson in goal. I'm going to go with Mustafi and Kolasinac as the centre-backs, Suarez on the right, possibly Ainsley Maitland-Niles on the left of the defence. And in midfield, Ceballos and Granit Xhaka. As I said, Xhaka can slip back into that back 4 to make it a back 3 at times, and allowing the fullbacks to push on as wing-backs. So Ceballos and Xhaka with Willock, and then an attack of Pepe, Nketiah and Reece Nelson. So that's the 11 I'm expecting. That's certainly not, I'm predicting, sorry, that's certainly not the one I'm expecting or have any info on. That's just my predicted 11 for tomorrow night's game. I think, like I said, going to be a lot of changes from the team that played at Old Trafford on Sunday. And Mikel Arteta will again then be changing, rotating his squad massively for the Aston Villa game on Sunday. So those are the main real headlines from today's press conference from Mikel Arteta. He was asked about the fans as well, and the Arsenal fans. Obviously, tomorrow night's game is going to be the first since England has gone into the second coronavirus lockdown. And he was asked about his message to the fans, given that they're going to have to be watching at home again and can't be in a stadium, and it's going to be an incredible difficult month for everyone here in the country under the new rules that are being enforced to try and get the pandemic under control. And he said, the message to the fans is that I miss them a lot. With what we're trying to build here, I want them to be a big part of that feeling and the passion we want to transmit to the football club. We haven't been able to spend time with them now, and they have to go and sit in their houses again. That increases our responsibility to give them some happiness in this moment when people are suffering. Mentally, it's a tough period to go through where we have the keys to happiness in some people. We have to make sure we give them that as much as we possibly can. My message is that we will try to bring that joy as consistently and possibly as we possibly can. So those are the words from Mikel Arteta to you, the Arsenal fans, as we enter here in the country another month of restrictions that are going to make life very, very difficult. So that's about it from today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said at the start of this, I will be at the game tomorrow night. I'll be heading up to North London for that one, and I will do what I normally do, be all over the game on social media, and then at the end of the match I will try and record, if I get the time, which hopefully I will, try and record my match review and player ratings, which I'll post on the YouTube channel. So thank you everyone for watching. Do appreciate your time as always, and do appreciate your support like I said earlier on, and I will be back to speak to you tomorrow night from the Emirates.